No, I skipped over 2 pages, and that's exactly what the viewer was saying. It's like, let me see. Some of the people involved are like babies. They don't want to be responsible. Their ignorance is dangerous. That's exactly what the guy said. Very good, Art.
My. And these are developing events, and I want to be careful. You never know for sure about these things. I mean, this is momentous news, to say the least, and I suppose there could be inaccuracies in it. So I want you to be careful with regard to what you're hearing. I'm sure Professor Brown doesn't feel that way. As a matter of fact, let's find out. Professor, are you there?
Well, actually, Art, what I want to say is that I am sharing our data. These are 3 studies. These are 3 remote viewing probes that were just done literally this evening. It's not a full-blown study, but these are very good remote viewers, and so I'm just sharing the data for whatever it's worth.
And I appreciate that, and I know the audience does. And the photograph is also very, very new, so we're dealing with just, a breaking story here. And I want to be careful, because this is almost War of the Worlds kind of information. Not that anybody out there in New Jersey is being gobbled up right now, but there are some who will react to it that way, Doctor.
And I must add that is a consequence of the ignorance that is literally been caused by the secrecy and the silence that our governments have had for decades on this phenomenon. And the antidote for this type of problem is absolutely not continuation of the secrecy. It is education. Knowledge is the antidote for fear. Right. We know now we are not being invaded. I've discussed this extensively in Cosmic Voyage, my book. We have all the new announcements that we've had up on our website. But the point is that people will react in a horrific way.
I know.
That is inaccurate, but nonetheless, that's a consequence of the way we've been immaturely dealing with this subject matter for decades.
How long do you think that our government has known that there is more to Hale Bopp than meets the eye, or where the eye meets the telescope?
Well, I'll tell you this much. When we called up the professor of astronomy at one of the top 10 major universities in the country, he knew all about it and gave us a list of other astronomers that would be willing to talk about it, and they had been observing it for a long while, and that they're totally aware that the government doesn't want us to know, doesn't want people to talk about it very much. And I must add that the object is emitting light. It is 4 times the size of the planet Earth. It is emitting light. It is moving in a way that distinctly gives the impression that it's under intelligent control. And it is, when you look at it, the entire surface is uniform in the light that it's emitting, meaning most celestial objects, virtually all, have irregularities in the light pattern, meaning a little darker here, a little lighter there.
You bet.
That object is completely and totally uniform. And whenever you want, I'll continue with the session and tell you what it's all about.
That's fine. Let me, if I might ask you this. You said already that there is a message coming from it.
That's right.
Now, you would be, it seems to me, uniquely in a position to receive that message.
That's the whole idea behind using literally remote viewing for this type of information.
All right.
Now, remember when I said earlier in the show is that we now know that there is a whole realm of life that's non-physical that we call subspace.
Yes, sir.
And physical. Well, in our procedures, one of the differences between our procedures and the original military procedures is we've added special procedures just to pick up subspace information. Mm-hmm. And this viewer, as I'm continuing with the session, went on to dump a tremendous amount of subspace information. He picked up a grid, a communication process that was going on with this object, like a subspace grid. Definitely communication, like a matrix. Transportation was involved. Devices were involved with this object. It was an operational. It was like hieroglyphics of another dimension. Universal application. And then he said, there is urgency in understanding this now. The main guy must listen, with an exclamation point. And the main guy, I'm interpreting this as President Clinton, must listen. All right, now let me go on to the, I'm skipping over a few things right now. Definitely there's a vortex, he's picking it up.
What you're hearing, folks, is raw data from a session that was just done literally hours ago.
And we have not had a time to actually synthesize it and make it into a nice, simple story, so you're getting it raw, which is actually more spine-tingling to actually get it. Then he drew a picture, which is uncanny, a picture of beings looking up at this structure And then he also drew a picture of the matrix, the actual information matrix. The whole idea is that the beings, whoever they are trying to communicate with us. Okay, now, the main guy, which I'm assuming to be President Clinton, the main guy needs to listen, or too many people will not be allowed. Actually, they'll be disturbed by something. There are many people, beings interested. Some type of a partnership is underway with regard to the subspace column. The structures may be discovered or utilized before the entire decoding process is handled. And then he goes on into a lot about this decoding process.
Wait. What does that mean? The structures may be utilized.
Meaning, the structure is the structure we're looking at up in space.
Yes.
And it's got some information its whole purpose is to convey to us some information, and we have to decode it. It's our process, our educational process, to understand what it's trying to say. And most of what it's trying to say has to deal with not just the physical, but the subspace realm of life. Now, going on with the session, some people think the object and devices are to be weapons, but the purpose is not as a weapon. And then he clearly deducts that the government and secrecy is involved in all of this. Actually, then there also is some potential for harm right now due to the lack of faith in the leaders, and that is almost certainly a result of people getting upset because of this.
All right, well, look,
thing and not going into the
let me stop you
the leaders
very briefly. Something this massive, this unknown, is going to produce fear. It is going to be viewed by our government, and it is the way governments react to these kinds of things, as a national security threat. And if we respond to it incorrectly or fail to receive the message, then I assume there is danger.
Yes, because people will panic and they can get out of hand. But now look, you're actually bringing up the very next page. The viewer is picking up the concept that there's going to be that there are events that are coming. Military and the government and power is being used. And then he says, they are not seeing what they think they are. They have not properly decoded the messages. And then the viewer was given a movement exercise to move to the target object and describe, and it is holistic, he says, in a multi-dimensional sense. The purpose must be discovered by those who intend to or have used it. The object is not made by materials known by us. And he actually went on to say that it is sentient to the origination, meaning it's somehow aware of itself with regard to its point of origin. Now,
holy moly.
The guidance system of the object. Now remember, this viewer, was never told anything but a couple random numbers. And now he's immediately picking up that there's a guidance system for this object. It's a composite of materials and organic material. Of minerals, I'm sorry. The guidance system for this object is a composite of minerals and organic material in a matrix of thought. It is intended as a device for vibrational instruction. Some have looked at it and not decoded the unlocking or keying mechanism properly. And it can be a danger to those as a result, probably because of
when he keeps saying they or some have, is he referring to
our government?
Our government. All right,
actually, he doesn't know that. That's my interpretation of this, because it's quite clear.
It seems
clear.
That's
what an analyst does with this data afterwards.
Yep. It seems clear.
Yeah, and the decoding will happen if the leadership chooses, only if they decide. Power, or the reigning power structure, is preventing the proper decoding. The machine/device interacts with DNA and is, in essence, a calibration mechanism. And he's already picking up concepts of NASA being involved.
What does that mean, a calibration mechanism?
Well, it's actually, I'm straying from the session now and extrapolating.
I know. I may be asking you to interpret things that you cannot interpret.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming what this is doing. We have been asleep for a very long time. We're dominated by our 5 physical senses: taste, touch, sight, hearing, smell. And I'm assuming that the machine is actually, our remote viewers have been picking up a machine along this lines for a long time, and we've been wondering what it's all about. But that the machine/device is acting to awaken us to who we actually are. Most people don't even know they have a soul. They walk around in the street eating hamburgers and things like that, and they don't even know that they're more than physical bodies, because the sounds, actually the five senses are so loud, like a boombox in their ear, they don't even know the residual flavor of the soul until they die, and then they pop out of the body, and the sort of the Whoopi Goldberg sense of the Ghost movie. Remember Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg?
Yes,
Patrick
of course,
Swayze?
yes.
It takes the death experience to say, oh my Lord, what was that? You mean I was a physical being for a while? Our DNA is structured to dominate the five senses, so that we have to use specialized procedures like remote viewing, TM, the TM Cities program, stuff with the Monroe Institute, in order to gather information from the other side. And there's a purpose for that. But at some point in our evolution, we need to awaken so that we can recombine our two selves. And apparently this machine has some purpose in recalibrating us, in awakening us of who we are. It's definitely not a weapon. Now, should I go on?
Yes, by all means.
Some organization, and he puts down the government, he's suspecting it's the government, has taken pictures of the object. Now remember, this person wasn't told anything but a couple random numbers, nothing else. Some organization, and he suspects the government, has taken pictures of the object and is distributing to sources who may endanger the project as a result. The decoding must occur. It is essential. The language is subspace, as we call it, but it is actually thought form, and it must occur to unlock the keys. Now, and he goes on. Secrets are being kept, but the message to the government by the assisting beings is to reveal the secrets. It is crucial for the leadership to wake up and listen. This uncanny stuff. This is why we love doing this. Remote viewing is fun, Art.
Well.
Now listen. The object is known by the government due to satellite and reconnaissance photos. They don't know what it is for. I'm assuming he's talking now about the Hubble telescope, which we've not been getting clear pictures of since May, but believe me, they've got good photos. But then he's finally getting really close, and he says the target object is a big, and he underlined big and in capital letters, object.
Mm-hmm.
It is subspace and physical. All beings are involved. Then he says humans assisted in the technology in the days of Atlantis. Oh my Lord, we're probably talking. We may be talking Zachariah and Sitchin's 12th planet. I mean, it's a very huge object.
Well, whatever this is, yes, it's big.
And then he goes on. It is on a journey, a mission of awakening from the center of the belt system. It is traveling through the Earth and other star systems. The goal is awakening. It is like a device for meditation to some of the groups. My Lord. Then he writes down enlightenment. Then in the concepts column, he writes down consciousness, enlightenment. The object's destination is not a place, but an awakening. It is on a mission, but has been intercepted in photos only. But the photos are used to feed misinformation. We're not at the end, Art.
The photos are used to feed misinformation?
Yes, because they're looking at the photos and saying, what is this? Is this a device? Is this a weapon? Are we under threat? They're not understanding the purpose of the object, which is to wake us up to ourselves, to our true selves, so that we can be active participants in the galaxy of life. The whole problem is the government has decided to go the route of secrecy and not educate the people, and now they've got a problem on their hands because of that. Now they've got the problem of trying to deal with a panicky populace that's not been educated for decades, and they have to now, and the ETs can't wait any longer, and they finally have to send some large ship in here to help awaken us. And the other events that I've already announced on our webpage, which is just basically describing the remote viewing data that our remote viewers are getting, are all... If it's rattling to the people, it's not the ET's fault. We have to change our behavior. We have to understand that education, I'm a professor, believe me, Art, I know. Education, knowledge is the antidote for fear. If the government has a problem on their hands right now, it's one of their own making. They've got to stop the secrecy.
Doctor, I've got a little of my own fear right now. I'm sitting here on my own website looking at this photograph.
Yeah.
You're quite right. The object is evenly lit, nearly as I can tell. It appears to have some sort of some sort of ring about it. It's hard to say if that might be flare or a ring, but it looks